What's up, everybody? I'm Scott,
I'm Jason.
and you're listening to Liquid Carnage. What's going on, my friend?
Oh my gosh, no, nothing. It's middle of we just survived Valentine's Day, so we're getting
Oh.
closer and closer to spring and summer, my friend.
Yes, yes. Pitchers and catchers reports. In fact, when this releases, they were reported yesterday, the day before, on Wednesday, February 17th. So that's exciting. Baseball is back. This is quite possibly the quietest time of the year, unless you're a basketball or hockey fan, because football's over and baseball's just around the corner.
Yeah, and they're gonna try to do a full season, so that's good too.
Yeah, and I think they learned a lot from the COVID protocols from last year. I think it's possible, and I think as the season goes on and as uh, the vaccinations get distributed, we'll see more and more fans in the stands.
Yeah, I gotta think that we're getting better about vaccinating people, and they're gonna start opening it up to more groups probably in March and April. So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully, get this under control and end this thing before the next pandemic pops up.
Yeah,
You
I
know, I
was
was,
gonna say it's only a matter of time. Something new is gonna come more
that's
along.
funny. I was watching. I think it was last week tonight, the other night on HBO, and they were talking. That was their main topic was pandemics, and they weren't talking about COVID. They were talking about how the next pandemic is right around the corner because scientists are always studying these viruses that are in animals only right now, but that's how they hop. But I guess one undercooked bat can bring a whole world to its knees from the viruses they have that get transferred to humans.
Oh,
If
really? See, I always thought that diseases from animals to humans was harder than that because the mutation was different.
Yeah, I don't know how that goes. I'm a communications major, not a science major, so I'm not really sure how that process goes.
Well, we got a lot of positive feedback on our about Sasquatch last month or last week, so
Well, that's
so
good.
that was good. That was good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So obviously, by now everyone's heard that the president impeachment hearing was final finished, and he was acquitted from the Senate. So that part is over.
that's true. That's true.
And
Now the civil suits and the legal state suits are about to start.
well, and one of the things that kind of they made the comment a couple. I heard some people make the comment a couple times is, we didn't feel like we had the constitutionality to convict him in the Senate, but what he did was totally wrong.
Yeah.
And it's
Here's the
like,
problem I don't like about that.
what?
You said that you can't. They basically this is the problem. They said that they can't impeach a president who's out of office, but they didn't want to reconvene Senate to do it while he was in office because they didn't think a president in his last month should be impeached.
Right.
And
Which tells me, okay, so does that mean that if a president doesn't win the election, that in the last 2 months he's basically free and clear to do whatever he wants?
well, I think what they've told us is that based on the current logic of the GOP, not to get on a Republican or Democrat political discussion today, but uh, basically what they're saying is if you're president, you can do whatever you want because you can't be prosecuted. We learned that from the last impeachment. You can't be convicted because of it. And also, if you do something in the last 2 months of your presidency, you're also immune if you get impeached afterward.
Right. Yeah. Like it doesn't really matter. So you could shoot someone and murder someone, and you're probably not going to get into any trouble, at least with the Senate.
As long as the majority of the Senate is your political party,
Yeah, or at least more than a third of the. It has to be
because
more than a third. Yeah.
I will say America's dipshit, the great senator from was it South Carolina, Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham. Yeah.
I hate this guy. He just looks like a fucking tool.
Well,
Um,
I think it's funny that people were actually had the courage to say that he was going to be the next John McCain.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
no,
Well,
he
not
is no
anymore.
John McCain, man.
No, he's a flip flopper, man. What do you say? This, Kamala Harris better watch out if she becomes president because she'll be impeached.
Well, no, he was
For
saying
what?
that, yeah, basic.
For
If the
bailing out people that went and murdered somebody.
yeah, if the House ever turns Republican, then she better watch out because she'll get impeached.
Yeah, yeah, because she contributed to a legal fund that bailed out protesters that allegedly went and murdered someone in Minnesota last summer during the riots.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't know. I don't know if you can impeach someone for that unless you can prove her actual money went to the person that did that.
Well,
But
this whole
I
thing
guess
got, yeah, I mean, this whole thing kind of got me on the topic though, because, part of his arguments, the lawyer's arguments for the president was, well, he has a First Amendment right to say whatever he wants. And, we were talking earlier about a topic that kind of resonated in me as well. They always say, I've always heard the same thing, that actions speak louder than words. But
correct.
in this situation, you know, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because words motivated people to act. So what's
Yeah.
more powerful, the action or the words that motivated them to act?
And I think it goes both ways. 9 times out of 10, I'll tell you, actions speak louder than words, man. You can tell me one thing, but what you're doing afterward tells me all I need to know. But if your actions are because you're dumb enough to listen to someone else's words, I think that's on you.
Okay. Okay.
You know.
So if you're saying 9 times out of 10 actions speak louder than words, what do you mean by that?
All right. So let's take the numb nut and the buffalo helmet that only eats organic foods in prison. The QAnon
Oh, what
buffalo.
is his name?
It doesn't matter what his name is.
Okay. QAnon guy.
Um,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, QAnon, Arizona QAnon, number one fan. He has been his actions for the last year, 2 years have been protesting every major Arizona protest, very fundamentally QAnon, pro Trump, uh, stormed the Capitol. And after he got arrested and now he's being prosecuted on a federal level, is repenting everything he did and saying he's sorry he followed. I'm sorry, but the video of your actions, what happened back in January and prior in Arizona, doesn't, to me, that doesn't make up for it.
Okay. And one of the things that I got to thinking about was, it is a crime if you, and we've already seen it a few times in courts, where someone talks someone else into suicide,
Mm-hmm.
and they get persecuted for those words. Those words lead to a criminal act against them by causing the action.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to say, well, it's my First Amendment right to say whatever I want. Yeah, but
Yeah,
if the
it's a
words are
gray area.
powerful enough to cause the action that we either, we are against or we condone, then to me, the words are just as powerful, if not more powerful, because some of these people, like, they may not have committed suicide if someone wasn't talking in their ear to do
Yeah.
that. And there's no guarantee that if they hadn't been there at the rally in Washington, D.C., listening to the words that they heard, if they may have still done the thing at the Capitol. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
possible. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is still possible that it still would have happened, but it's also just as possible that nothing would have happened.
Yeah. I guess this is a scenario where it's a gray area and it becomes a morality question with this too,
Okay.
because you have to have some sense of right or wrong to follow through on what some of these people are saying, and I think that's also part of the problem is these people that storm the Capitol, what have you, inherently think that they're right. They inherently think that their actions were going to speak louder than the words of the politicians, and that was going to change the course of American history. These
Yeah,
people thought they were the Boston Tea Party.
right. They were led to believe that they were the part of the Boston Tea Party. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, if you look back over the last 250 years, almost every major war between peoples, the Declaration of Independence has been quoted on both sides as the reason for why they're fighting. Right?
Yeah.
Well, so in every major war over the last 250 years, the Declaration of Independence is the impetus that they use. That's their motivation. How powerful are the words of the Declaration of Independence then?
Well, it's no different than God is on their side. God's always on the side of the person fighting the war, right?
Right. Okay. Okay, let's take that. So God is on your side, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how important is the action if the thought of God is what propels them to act? How powerful? I mean, how about this? Most of the actions will be forgotten within 50 years. The
Mm-hmm.
words of the Bible or the words of the Declaration of Independence will never die. They'll never die.
They will never die, but I don't think actions will be forgotten anymore either, especially in the age of technology and video. I think that's what we're forgetting here. If this would have happened in the Capitol 30 years ago, 30 years ago, and back in 1991, we would have totally forgotten about the majority of this because it only would have been whatever news footage was seen.
Right.
There was no cell phone. There was no activity to know who was in the Capitol versus who wasn't. You go back 20 years prior to that to 1971, there'd be even less information. And history is always history was always written by the winners.
Well, and that's the thing is we would still have the words of the man who said them.
Yeah.
So the action, you're right. We wouldn't know who was there, what actions were there, but we would know that someone said verbatim, blah, 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 and then this action happened.
Yeah, but now the context of everything comes into play.
Right.
You know, the context of it all is what's important to look at. And if the context of what you're saying does not match the video of what you're doing, I mean, we have a problem. And I think we have, for an example, we have a problem here with Senator McConnell from Kentucky. A perfect example. Voted to acquit, but then turned around 5 minutes later, went on a press conference and blamed Trump for everything.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Like he like cast him as he did this, like he was guilty. Which then you say, well, if he was guilty, then why did you vote to acquit? Like,
yeah,
it seems odd to me that, but that's neither here nor there.
And I'm sure there's legal technicalities they'll try to bullshit you with, but you know, at the end of the day, it's when you get to that level of politics, there's much more behind the scenes than we even want to fathom.
Well, I sometimes even think about like people who post on Facebook. They don't really necessarily have any actions, but the words that they put on Facebook has a direct result in some people. Like they just lose friends over what they've said, you know, on both sides. I mean, I'm not saying one side or the other, but you know, those words have an impact on actions by other people.
Yeah.
You know, my mom has a friend that she has known for 70 years. And basically she cannot talk to the woman anymore because of things that she posts on Facebook and things that she says to her in phone calls that have caused the action, but the words are what caused the action. It wasn't like, you know, she was doing something bad, but just what she has said has caused my mom and her not to be close friends anymore.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem with social media. It's we've gotten comfortable saying whatever we want to say and not getting slapped in the mouth for it.
Well, yeah, you know, and so that's why it's been interesting to me that people will say, well, like I've read it so many times. Well, I know this is probably going to lose me a lot of friends, but I just have to say it. No, you don't. You don't have to say it.
No
one cares about your opinion, to be honest. No one cares about, like, all these people that put their opinions on Facebook think that we care.
Yeah.
They think that we care, but we don't care.
No.
We really don't.
No, and the only people that are going to care about your opinion on Facebook are the ones that have the exact opposite opinion.
Yeah.
Or the ones that are in direct alignment with your opinion. And, you know, I'll be honest. Well, when someone starts talking politics on social media, I generally unfollow them.
And now, when they start talking on just the opposite side of your views?
No, in general.
In general. So as soon as they start talking about politics, then you kind of turn off.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, man? Show me pictures of food, your dogs, your kids. Show me the good things in life. I don't give a fuck about your political opinions. I don't share mine with you. I'm not trying to shove mine down your throat. So don't do this to me. And the problem is the people that share the most political opinions on social media are generally the least educated ones.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I find that more and more that some of the comments that I don't get on Facebook that much, so I'm only going off of what Noreen reads because I don't normally get on Facebook. But one of the things that I find kind of telling is so many of these people's their statements just don't seem educated to me in the sense of, like, someone said recently that Obama was the worst president of all time. Now, to me, I can already tell that you have no sense of presidential history if that's what you really think. because believe me, there have been horrible presidents. We've had 46 presidents. Okay. So, yeah, there have been worse presidents than Obama. So by you making that statement, obviously shows that your words don't match up with the action of you actually doing research to say, what did he do that was worse or better than this president or that president?
Yeah, that goes on multiple levels too. It's all engage in arguments like that when it comes to something like sports, something you can factually argue. Who is better, Michael or Kobe?
Well, maybe the difference there too is that opinion. It's okay for both of you to be right.
Yeah, yeah,
It's okay to say, Scott, if you think that Michael Jordan's better and I think that Kobe Bryant's better, agree to disagree,
yeah,
right? And it's over. There's
yeah.
no emotional, you're not emotionally attached to, you know, MJ or Kobe.
Why do you think
Um,
people get so emotionally attached to politics now? Is it because it's the 24-hour news cycle, or is it?
I I don't know. I mean, I guess I would say that the words that are coming out now from all sides, both right and left sides, they seem to be able to tap into people's emotions one way or the other, and
Yeah,
those emotions are what get riled up, and people make bad comments, or worse, they do the actions like riot against the Capitol
yeah.
based on the emotions that are inflamed through these words. And like you said, I mean, it's gotten to the point now where you don't even mess with it. Hey, if you're going to talk about politics, whatever side you're on, I'll just unfriend you. That's fine. I don't need to be your friend.
Yeah, and the older I get, the more I realize I don't really care about social media that much. I get my news off of Twitter, and that's about it. But with that, you can choose who to follow. But if you're smart, you need to have some kind of fair balance of both sides, because there's no centrist news organization anymore. It's either extreme left or extreme right.
Well, now now there's an interesting, because now that I'm thinking about it, if you say, like O'Connell, if you say one thing and act in a different way, then that's where actions mean more than the words you say, because your words can't be like, you're just saying something right now.
Uh-huh.
Where, like, for example, there are a lot of rich people that talk about how they give to society, and then there's rich people that donate millions and millions of dollars to charity.
Yeah.
So those actions match up to the words, like, I want to be a better human and give more money away. Some people, those actions match, and some people they don't.
That's true.
So the actions definitely speak louder when you actually follow the words with actions.
That's why I think it's important to remember the context of what the person's saying and who the person is too. I mean, just because you can always say actions speak louder than words, but you know, even a villain can do a good deed occasionally. That doesn't make him a hero.
Well, and how much of our really, now think about it, how much of our really close friendships, the ones that obviously you and me, but you and me and our circle of friends, how much of that is based on both the words and the actions lining up? Like, hey, I need you to be there on this date to help me move.
Oh, I think
And you're there. You're there on the day to help me move.
yeah, I think when you get to a level like that, I think on a personal level, that's how you define your friends and your family. It's the ones that you can count on, and you can count on those people because of their words and their actions, and that's the important thing to remember.
So maybe now that I'm thinking about it, maybe they're intertwined. They're not as important, but they're like a symbiotic relationship between the words and the actions, that one can't be done without the other
Well, that's a good point. Maybe.
to
Well,
make it worthwhile. Because I I think about when you say you're going to come help me move, I just know that you're going to do that. That those words are true.
yeah, that
Those
means
words
something.
mean something, and I never have to worry about, oh, you said you were going to do this, but then you never did. And don't we get pissed off at people that say, oh yeah, I'll be there to pick you up, and then they don't show up, or they show up late?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that drives me nuts.
And then we do say, oh, see, your actions speak louder than your words because you didn't show up when you needed to.
Yeah, but it's like I guess in that scenario, there's sometimes you have to know like the person you're dealing with too. Are they chronically late, or are they just late because there's an accident? There's different context, excuse me, to that too. But at the end of the day, I think you're right. We do pick our social circles based on our belief systems and their actions and their words.
And we're very painfully obvious when there's a hypocrisy or a mismatch between that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're very obvious. We're very aware of somewhere inside of us, deep down, there's something inside of us to say that's not right. What you're saying and what you're doing are two different things.
Yeah. And that's the important thing. It's understanding, and I think that's self-awareness too, is having that understanding of what you're saying versus what you're doing, and making sure they align.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the big knock of Jefferson is that he talked about all these things about freedoms and everyone's free, yet he owned 200 people in his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Hypocrisy.
of all of his rich compatriots in Virginia, he was one of the few that didn't free his slaves upon his death. So it leads back to, well, you say you talk about freedoms, but you don't free people. So, your actions are speaking louder than your words.
And that's why he's, no offense, not even a top 10 president when it comes down to it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a shock.
Okay, now that those words and your actions are cutting me like a fist, buddy.
Well, yeah, but I don't think I'm wrong though.
Well, yeah, okay, you can have your opinion.
Yeah.
But hey, it doesn't matter because I already know that Obama's the worst president ever.
Well, that's fine.
I read that on Facebook.
So it's got to be true. It's got to be true.
Yeah, exactly.
If you read it on social media, it's got to be true.
Now, wait a minute. So you think he's one of the top 10 worst because of that alone, or were there other things that make you think that?
Well, I think that's a big factor into it. I mean, you go back to social media today versus how you got your news 200 years ago are two very different things.
Yeah.
So there's a very good chance we don't know how good or how atrocious our first founding fathers really were.
Well, I think they said that 7 of the first 10 were all from Virginia. So Virginia was a slave-owning state. So you do the math.
I mean, realistically, we've heard reports that Benjamin Franklin was a man whore too. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but does it make him more of a person or less of a person? Well, it's not for us to say. It's just a difference in opinions, really.
Well, but I would argue that does mean something. I mean, he's not like the rest of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't put someone on the $100 bill because they're just like the rest of us. We don't make monuments to these men because they're just like us. We make monuments because they ascend above what the rest of us are.
Theoretically, they're supposed to ascend above.
Well, some might argue that it doesn't really matter what he did in life. He gave us the Declaration of Independence, and that's enough.
And you're absolutely right. That's how he ends up on with a nickel.
He's on the $2 bill and the nickel.
So he's a fan of strippers.
Hey, well, he's got the $2 bill, so that you got that going for him.
Yep, that's it. A very well used bill in the strip club culture. I know that from our EP Tom. Used to be a frequent flyer and went down in Phoenix, so he used to tell us stories about that. Sorry to sell you out, Tom, but the truth hurts.
Wow, I did not say that, EP, so you can go after him on the notes.
Hey, man, he got a T-shirt. That's all I'm saying. If you go up, you get a T-shirt, that says something.
One thing I will take from this conversation is that I will be a little bit more careful of the words I choose and the actions that go along with them. I think that, the words I have to choose, going forward, sometimes I'm a little cavalier about what I say or how I think, and my actions, don't necessarily live up to the way that my words come out. So I'll be more aware of that.
Yeah. And then, for me, just because of my profession, I'm always watching my words when I'm in mixed company. It's just part of the job. So I always try to read the room before I make any kind of statement one way or the other. And I always steer away from politics if I can help it. It's never something I want to be directly involved with unless I'm actually in a political debate locally more than speaking about national situations.
Well, and I mean, do you think that was from your education, or do you think that's just from your work, your career, that you've become more adept at doing that?
I think it's both.
Yeah,
I think it's part of my degree is learning how to read people and read a room. For as much as Your degree is in supply chain management, correct?
Yeah, inventory control. Yeah.
Inventory control. For as much as you understand about that, you learn in school. I learned the same thing about interpersonal politics, how to read a room, how to read a person, and basically knowing when to shut up and when to speak up.
Well, isn't that what gets a lot of these people in trouble? Is they're having a conversation with the news and they don't use the correct words, or they speak from the heart instead of thinking, speaking from the mind, and then that turns into a political mess, a firestorm, because they said, they spoke from the heart instead of thinking about what they said, and not realizing, yeah, those words mean something,
Yeah, no, I get it. I agree with that completely, and that comes down to having a relationship with the person you're speaking with as well. For me, if I speak to the media, I only speak to one reporter locally, uh, you know, over the phone or in person. Everyone else, it's written.
Oh, a written
Yeah,
statement.
I will give a written. You email me the questions. I will write out my statement and I will send it back. It's just a level of trust, and a level of comfort. I've been, I'll say, inadvertently burned by people who are not good at their reporting jobs in the past. So at a certain point, you have to take the chances to circumvent that.
Well, and frankly, with everything that we've seen over the last 4 years, I'm really surprised that more politicians do not do, kind of like Kirsten Sinema. I mean, she just kind of doesn't talk to the media. You know what I mean? She
Mm-hmm.
just like, I'll express my opinion once we have to vote on it, but I'm not. It's almost like you would think that these people would have learned their lesson, that nowadays words are at least equal as the actions that you take, because they have an effect,
Yeah,
and they hold on to them. Things that you said 10 years ago. Uh, I mean, let's be honest. It is what it is. That's something that you say that for the rest of your life, your friends are always going to know that those are your words. You can't ever take that back.
yeah, yeah,
And and it's worse when you're the media that's quoting you and never letting you backtalk that.
yeah. That's part of the problem too. It's people assuming that they can get easy quotes from other marks or what have you. And I understand why Kirsten Sinema doesn't speak to the media a lot, because the media has nothing to say to her. She's not a power player in Washington right now. She's 2 years in to a 6-year term, so she's still learning the ropes.
Well, and frankly, though, everything I'm reading is the news media is saying that she is going to become a power player in the new Senate because the Democrats need her vote, and I think they said that she voted with Trump 54% of the time,
Wow.
because her philosophy is, I think I listen. I think what's best for Arizona, and that's how I vote. Like she's already saying that she's balking at this new COVID bill, this 1.9 trillion, because they're trying to push the $15 minimum wage
Mm-hmm.
in the bill, and she said that's not in Arizona's best interest right now.
That makes sense.
Do it on its own separate bill. Well, if you have a slim margin, you need every vote you can get, and they're saying that people like Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, they're going to be the ones that are going to be more and more powerful. And in the interview or in the news article, they were saying that some of the Republicans that work with Kirsten Sinema have said she's very thoughtful. She doesn't say much. She just listens, and then she takes a long time to formulate her opinion about something. And I thought, she doesn't talk to media because she doesn't want her words to get spun
Yeah,
around into something.
yeah, it makes sense. It makes total
Let
sense.
her actions talk over her words, right, buddy?
That's it, man. That's it.
Wow,
So
what a good way to end the episode, man.
That's right. So, what are your thoughts on actions versus words? Do you have an experience where someone's actions spoke louder than words, or their words spoke louder than their actions? Tell us your story. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. Or if you have some actions you'd like to give our EP instead of listening to his words, hit him up on Twitter and Instagram at liquid_EP.
That was awesome. Well, thanks for indulging me. I've been doing a lot of thinking just because of this whole thing with the Senate, so it kind of got me thinking. So I appreciate the time.
Hey, man, that's the least I could do for you. That's what
Hey,
brothers
it's not
do.
even my birthday. It's not even my birthday.
It's what brothers do, though.
That's right. That's right. Hey, your actions speak a lot, buddy, and I
I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
that.
Hey, thanks for listening, everyone. We appreciate you as always. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some liquid carnage.